Salve, my name is Geza Frank. I'm a musician, reenactor, and officer in the militia segment of the Austrian army. Welcome to my 14-day experiment, where I'm going to wear the armour of a Roman repentant soldier of the 4th century AD for 10 to 12 hours a day while eating Roman combat rations. All this is going to culminate in me scaling a 2,300 meter high mountain in full Roman combat gear. This is day 12. Welcome to Augustianis. I'm standing in front of the fully preserved Roman gate of the garrison of Augustianis, today Tysmawa. This is quite a unique heritage infrastructure because there's not so many fully preserved Roman gates from late antiquity or from any age that are integrated into a fully functioning city. So as you can see, there's still cars driving through this gate. This gate almost still serves its original purpose and is fully integrated into the city's life and landscape of today. It's almost not known to the surrounding population what kind of gem they have here. When speaking to the people in the surroundings, they're aware that there is some Roman heritage. They're aware that some of the older structures in their city are from Roman times, but they have generally not so much interest or not such a feeling for what kind of gems they actually have here. And this is one of the reasons why I'm such an advocate for living history, because that's something people can see, can touch. They can suddenly get a feel for what those buildings are and the context of their history. I always find it fascinating how people change the perception of their local heritage once there is active and regular living history events happening at a place. We can see in Carnuntum, for example, how the entire region has changed their perception of the Roman heritage by having the museum there, the reconstructions, and frequently also featuring reenactors. We recently set up also several living history initiatives and events in this area, with Traismauer being a special focus. Hopefully 2022 we'll see the first Roman Cavalry Festival, since this was a cavalry garrison. And we are also coming here more frequently. Now in the lockdown it's a bit harder, but we are planning to have frequent appearances here and interact with the soon-to-be local museum and also with the local archaeologists who are very enthusiastic to welcome us and to show Roman heritage to the local population. I'm standing here in front of another remarkably preserved tower dating probably from the 4th century, and its characteristic horseshoe shape. It's been so well preserved because it continued to serve as a building that was continually used also throughout medieval times, and also in more recent time. It's been used as accommodation up until the 60s and even 70s. So when you walk inside, certain levels still have very nice or not so nice tapestry from the 70s inside. However, it will hopefully soon be turned into a museum and be open for the public, and I hope that some of the levels inside will be restored to their appearance in the 4th century AD. So anyway, we are here in Mautern, in the ancient garrison of Favianis on the Danube, and we can see here really nicely preserved and spectacular walls. These walls are actually dating to the 4th century mainly, and the tower I'm standing in front here is quite an exception. Usually these sort of semi-round horseshoe towers have very standard dimensions. However, this tower is much larger than usually those towers are. It's also thicker. It's integrated in the wall, and up until the very recent times, it used to be completely preserved. The last parts of this tower were demolished in the 30s of the 20th century. The highest point of the tower is about 10 meters high today, but probably up until the 16th, 17th century, this tower would have been used as an integral part of the city's defense walls. So it's only after that that it was demolished. We see also another tower over there, which is a bit smaller and which houses a more medieval structure atop. But you have to imagine that up until the moment where the city walls that were used in medieval times were destroyed, most of the material would have been still from Roman times. The 4th century saw a very massive building projects on the Danube here. We have the Danube just over there, maybe 100 meters away from me, and there's some big hills on the other side. Those hills would have been the realm, the sort of borderlands between the Quadic tribes and the Marcomanni. So in the 5th century, there was a very famous story here because Favianis was under siege. So a very famous churchman at the time was in this garrison during the siege. It was Saint Severin. Saint Severin and his Vita are our only source for the happenings on the Pannonian and Noricum Limes during the time of the collapse of the Roman order here. So Saint Severin was in the garrison while it was under siege, and he convinced the garrison troops to keep up the siege and keep up the arms and not despair. It was winter, and some supply ships that were meant to supply this garrison and help with the siege were stuck further up the river in tributary rivers that were completely frozen over. And so there's a whole story around that, and we will go into detail of this story in some later video. So I can only recommend visiting. It's a very nice town here. There's some very nice wine in the area, and the walls are absolutely gorgeous to look at. Here we see the interior remains of the exceptionally large horseshoe tower, which had at least 3 or 4 levels, and it housed an entire section of the garrison here, and was also functioning as a part of the entrance to the city. So it was guarding a gate. The Danube at the time would have been much closer to where this tower stands today. So the soldiers stationed in this tower would have probably predominantly used either distance weapons such as the arcoballista, sort of blade antique crossbow, also other things as ballista and scorpios, and get quite firepower onto the river and onto any force that wants to cross the river or approach the city from this direction.